you got Jim's very versed. Yeah, there was nothing other than.
Welcome. This is the November 21st, 2022 meeting of the Wallingford Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to start the meeting by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's decisions will be published in the Record Journal on Friday, November 25th, 2022. The effective date of your variance will be Friday, November 25th, 2022, the date a certified copy is recorded on the land records. The statutory 15-day appeal period will expire on Sunday, December 11th, 2022. If you commence operations and/or construction during the appeal period, you do so at your own risk. Voting tonight, Bruce Conroy, Tom Wolfer, Karen Harris, Ray Rise, and Joe Russick as chairman. First application is 22-043, variance request for Testa. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. We have staff comments, which read as follows. Applicant proposes, in addition to the front porch, expanding forward by 3 feet, necessitating a variance request for front yard of 15.66 feet, where 18.66 feet exists and 20 feet is required. The home predates zoning and is currently non-conforming with respect to front setback at 242 South Main Street in an R11 district. We also have 2 email correspondence. One is dated November 7th, 2022 from a Mr. Patrick Burney, and the other one is dated November 9th from Deborah Testa. Nope, you're right, it was forwarded. It was dated November 9th, and it's from Warren Kruver. My apologies.
That's okay.
Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record. Hold the microphone up close to you so we can hear you.
Michael Cipriani, 58 Fair Street, Wallingford.
Pull the microphone up so we can hear you. Thank you.
And Deborah Testa, 240-242 South Main Street.
Thank you. Welcome. Could you please explain your application?
Well, we had started a project Deb had called us in on. We were going to do the second-story porch because the columns were leaning out, and then everything, the floorboards were rotted, and as we started pulling up the floorboards, it just snowballed effect. And then all the columns on the first floor, they're just pine boxes. So we had to bring the structure down, and then we had crawled under the deck, and everything's just brick. We dug down, nothing's down 42 inches, which it should be. And then we just kind of went from there, and you know, the building department wouldn't allow us to do that until we kind of, it would be hard to hold up the deck, dig, and then kind of go down. And then I was talking with Deb, we were explaining, God forbid, if she does anything handicap accessible, you know, we would have to bring it out a little bit farther, because as her table's there, you wouldn't be able to get a wheelchair around it and up into the first floor.
So your plans are, you're just going to come out 3 more feet.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what we see. I understand it. I have an old house too, and the front porch, these older front porches are very narrow.
Yes.
They're nice, but they're very narrow. Right. Anybody got any questions for the applicant? Karen?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions.
Oh, I thought.
No.
I just had a question on the stairs.
Bob?
The stairs. Are they going to be, I mean, are you raising the porch in height at all? Are the
No,
stairs going to come out?
The porch will stay the same, okay, and then the stairs will come out the same. It's just, everything's just coming out 3 feet, 100%, you know, nothing's changing, just everything coming out with the roof line, because we got to carry the roof load down to the new piers that we're digging.
Do you live in the house? I'm just,
I do, yes.
oh, yeah, you do, okay.
Yep.
I know. but
His dad put a third floor on for me 18 years ago, or 15 years ago, so I'm on the second and third, and I occasionally have tenants on the first.
Yeah, you got to pull when you're talking, you got to pull the
Oh,
microphone
sorry.
close to you. That's fine. Anybody else got any questions for the applicant?
You say you dug the piers already?
No, we didn't.
All right.
When we dig the piers,
Right.
we have to bring the roof line out to carry the load down, because I think if we raise it out 3 feet, it would look kind of weird with the roof not coming with the deck.
Yeah, I understand that, but so there's no reason other than you want the extra 3 feet, right?
Yes.
All right, that was my question.
Okay.
Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this application? Anybody here to speak against the application? Hearing, seeing none. Do you have anything further you want to add before I close the public hearing? No? You don't have anything further you want to add?
No.
I'm going to close the public hearing and open up for discussion and possible action by the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve variance request for front yard of 15.66 to expand front porch at 240, 242 South Main, as shown on proposed plot plan, land of Deborah P. Testa, dated 9/15/22. So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve, Mr. Conroy.
No to approve.
Mr. Wolfer.
Yes to approve.
Ms. Harris.
Yes to approve.
Mr. Rice.
Yes to approve.
Chairman Russick.
Yes, your variance has been approved. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you
As
too.
well. Thank you, guys.
Next application is 22-045, variance request for Keeney. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we do. We have staff notes, and they read as follows. Applicant proposes a side yard of 3.7 feet, where 6.7 feet exists and 6 feet is required to erect an exterior staircase/landing to the second floor at 669 Center Street in an R6 district. Property is an office building with no current means of safe egress per fire code. Applicant is proposing side yard variance request in order to safely comply with fire code requirements while not erecting in parking facilities in compliant location on the parcel. And that's it.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is James Keeney. I live in Cheshire, Connecticut, 531 Cortlandt Circle. The building, 669 Center Street, is a building that I have my business in.
Okay, please explain your application.
I purchased the building a couple of years ago. I put a substantial investment into it to move my business over there, renovated the whole downstairs, and currently have 2 tenants in the downstairs as with my own business. And it was through that process when I pulled the building permit and I had the fire marshal there, and I started to show him the second floor would be phase 2 of my plan, and then that's when he informed me that the second floor would not be able to be occupied without a second means of egress. The previous owner had put in what he called a fire window or something, which is a window that opens up, but the fire marshal told me that that was not going to be appropriate. So the sketch that I put in there adds a doorway onto the second floor, which will provide a egress out onto the roof. So we have about a 12 to 15 foot walkway across the roof to safely egress with railings, so that in the event of a fire or some emergency, that someone from the second floor would be able to egress, a second means of egress out that new door that we'll install and down to the street. I originally had it facing towards the back of the parking lot, and there's windows downstairs, which the fire marshal informed me that it couldn't go there because there could be a fire downstairs and the fire could get out the window and essentially burn the stairs. So that's why we switched it to have it going towards Center Street.
Okay, Is there any possible way you could have put this in the rear?
Egress from the first floor is, egress is out the rear, so most of the rear is taken up by, there's a fireplace. It was obviously an old house at one time that was renovated. So there's a fireplace, which makes that difficult, and also there's a deck which egresses one of the tenants, my business, out the back. The front of the house or building is the entrance in for the two tenants in the front, as well as it would be the entrance for the tenant or potential tenant that would ultimately occupy the third floor.
Okay, so there's no possible way to put this in the rear?
No. And off the other side, on the Martin Street side, the condensing units are there. There's also the meters, the
electric?
the electric meters on the back of the property as well.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Bruce?
Yeah, how far away from the window is that stairs? If it were going the other way, how far away from the window is it?
The window would be underneath the stair.
Would be underneath it? Direct,
Yeah.
I mean, right underneath it? There's no distance away from the stairs, is what I mean? If it goes from there and goes into the back, that's what he won't allow from that spot?
Yeah, because there's a window downstairs that is right there. So the area to come off the roof, if it turned towards the back, it would go right over the window.
The fire marshal said no.
Absolutely, yeah.
right.
Because before, I'm here because I did the drawing and I filed for a building permit, and then I brought it to the fire marshal first to get his opinion before I brought it to the building department, and then I brought it to the building department. And then through my conversations, I guess the fire marshal retired, so there was somebody else that was there. And so he came out and looked at it and said, you really can't go this way, you got to go the other way. And then he said, and by the way, did you bring it to zoning? And I said, well, I didn't know about that. So then I came and I spoke to the people over there, and they led me down a path, which
You're here now.
now I'm here.
That was it. I just wanted to make sure it was the fire marshal who told you no.
Yeah, absolutely, it's the fire marshal that told me no. I would have preferred it to go to the back, but he said that's not possible.
It's going to be commercial? He's looking at this as commercial or residential for the?
Yes, sir, commercial.
Commercial? So it's not being turned into an apartment then?
No, sir.
Anybody else have any questions? Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this application? Anybody here to speak against this application? Sir, come on up to the microphone. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes. I'm going to read my notes.
Please state your name and your address for the record.
Certainly. I am Pierce Lindsay. I'm co-owner of 665 Center Street, along with Alan G. Faticone. I am speaking for him as well. This is our private residence. With all due respect, Mr. Keeney, I disagree with the building of the second floor egress merely inches from our property line and only driveway. It seems as though there is available outdoor area in the rear of the building that is unused, with existing footers, ledgers, double joists, landing, stairs, walkway, and a light by motion. With this new stairway as proposed, it is only human nature to choose the shortest distance to the parking lot, resulting in walking the short 40 feet on our paved driveway, then to walk approximately 200 feet around the three sides of the building to the lot. Although pretty on paper, the structure itself will look unsightly to both us and passersby. Also, way out of character in our neighborhood, and a lighting issue is as it is located feet from all the bedrooms. Strangers cutting across our property to the parking lot, and a nightmare with a strong possibility of the staircase being hit by our plow, day-to-day car usage. As a matter of fact, Mr. Keeney's foreman came over to us one day and asked if a concrete delivery truck can drive 100 feet down our driveway to a suitable location to pour their concrete. Of course, we said yes. If the stairway existed only inches from that driveway, we would not have even considered letting a concrete mixer truck on our grass and driveway, as they are wider than our driveway. The Wallingford guidelines were put in effect for a reason. I truly don't believe Mr. Keeney has a hardship. He has other options available to him. He is a talented builder. As far as blocking up a window or keeping a soffit that might be blocking the stairwell to be built easily, remove the soffit. You'll have about 4 feet beyond the window in the crevice of the back of the building. It can come down approximately 8 stairs to a landing, turn, go onto the landing, and then directly onto their parking lot. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak against this application? Ma'am?
I'm Carol Shillo. I'm the back of their property at 15 Martin Avenue.
Just come a little closer to the microphone for us. Thank you.
Yeah, that concrete truck got concrete on my vinyl fence that they were pouring a pad for his driveway, and when they did the black asphalt for their driveway, that
All right,
also got on my
I
fence.
want to cut you off. We want you to speak and why you're against this stairway, not about what he did or what they did. That's not
There's
what
a
we're
lot
here
of
for.
stuff that goes on over there that's been brought to the city's attention that it seems like it goes on deaf ears. Like the previous tenants that live there, we have no say in anything. Someone comes to the town and they get approved for a permit. That parking lot was raised way above, just like Simpson
Again,
Village.
ma'am, we're speaking about the staircase on
So
the
you
side of
don't
the
care,
building.
you don't care is what you're saying.
No, I care. He's here about his staircase on the side of the building. That's what we're here to talk
So
about.
I have no privacy in my backyard because their parking lot was raised above my fence level. So let them put the stairs in the back and I'll have more people looking in my yard. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak against this application, sir? Please state your name and address for the record. Get nice and close to the microphone.
My name is Alan G. Faticone.
Closer, please.
Yeah, a little closer there, we can hear you. There you go.
It's a little tall for me.
You can pull it down.
Anyway, my name is Alan Faticone. I live at 665 Center Street. I am totally against this. It's a monster of a structure for an egress. I mean, it's a bridge. It's too entailed and too close to my house. I agree with Pierce as far as the windows. He can pop out a window in 30 seconds. I mean, the guy's talented, though. They all are there. They're builders. My God, and they're using a window, 2 windows as an excuse, or 1 window. It just doesn't sit well with me. As far as people looking in the bedroom windows, I have my 89-year-old mother there. I mean, you're talking from here to the desk away, totally killing the side yard. That's it.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here to speak against this application? Hearing, seeing none. Do you have anything further you'd like to add before I close the public hearing?
Well, just listening to the comments, there's, closing up the window could be a possibility, but it's still the same size stairwell, and it's still the same distance away from the property line. So whether it goes towards Center Street or it goes towards the back of the parking lot, the back of the parking lot, there's some trees that have been added there that will need to be removed, which I believe my neighbors to the left are very much in favor of those trees because they provide a certain amount of privacy. to them when we were doing the work, they asked permission to actually plant additional trees on my property to, provide them with privacy. So the height that you have to get down from the second floor, if you look at the survey that's been provided, there's no room in the back to get down off the roof from there. And in addition, if you look at the survey, my neighbor's driveway that they talk about is actually on my property by about 3 feet. So I'm not sure when that driveway was installed or what zoning they went through to put that driveway in, but it's on my property. That's all, sir.
Thank you. Does anybody else got any questions before I close the public hearing? Amy, do you want to make a comment?
Well, I just wanted to reiterate what the applicant said, looking at the map. This is not inches from the property line. The request is for a 3.7-foot setback when 6 feet is required. So it's actually 3.7 feet from the property line, and as Mr. Keeney has pointed out, there's an encroaching driveway. So it's not inches from the property. It's just to be clear. Other than that, the applicant will have to speak to it, but I'm speaking only of the setback. It's nearly 4 feet from the property line.
Thank you. So I'm going to close the public hearing and open for discussion and possible action by the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve a variance request for side yard of 3.7 feet to construct an exterior second-floor staircase at 669 Center Street, as shown on the property survey site plan, 669 Center Street, prepared for James Kinney, dated October 5th, 2022, submitted plan received October 12th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve, Mr. Conroy.
No to approve.
Mr. Wolfer.
No to approve.
Ms. Harris.
Yes to approve.
Mr. Rice.
No to approve.
And Chairman Russick.
No. Your variance requests have been denied. Next application is 22-046 for Desjardins at 31 Tennessee Avenue. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. I have staff notes that read, applicant requests front yard of 43.3 feet where 49.3 feet exists and 50 feet is required, and building coverage of 18% where 13% exists and maximum 10% is permitted to construct a 324 square foot covered front porch and a 333 square foot covered rear patio at 31 Tennessee Avenue in an RU 40 district. Parcel was originally developed as part of a subdivision in 1956, predating current zoning and subdivision regulations, where lot area required in an RU 40 district was 18,000 square feet minimum. Since the inception of zoning in 1958, the bulk standard for lot area in an RU 40 zone is 40,000 square feet. The applicant would not require a front yard setback variance at all, and a building coverage request would be lessened if the bulk standards were the same for were for the same as lots of 18,000 square feet, i.e. an R18 zone. The board should discern whether building coverage request may be lessened by removal of any outbuilding, and if so, condition any approval accordingly. And that's all we have.
Thank you. Welcome. Please pull the microphone nice and close to you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Jacques Desjardins, 31 Tennessee Avenue, Wallingford, Connecticut.
Tamara Desjardins, 31 Tennessee Avenue, Wallingford, Connecticut.
Thank you. Please explain your application.
Well, as it was written, as it was written here, like I said, it was an R18 at one time, and the what we were looking at do, front porch and the back on the deck, wouldn't have needed a variance.
Okay, just explain what you're going to do to us so we understand.
Well,
what you're-
it's changed since we even put this application in. I mean, we still want the back portion of the house, but my father-in-law has macular degenerative disease in his eyes.
He's going blind, he's living by himself, and we're now needing to make the house accessible for him so that he is able to come and live with us. So we need the living space in order to have him come into our home.
So we're planning on doing the back section where we were going to do the covered deck as part of do an addition for him to stay.
We don't need the front, we
Yeah.
really need the back.
I mean, if that would be the deciding factor, I would,
So you're looking to now build an addition on the back of the house?
correct, that same roof coverage, though, not more than that.
Right, but it changes the application. Amy?
Yeah, point of order. It does not change the application. Whether there's a cover with sides or an open cover, as long as it's the same dimensions, does not change it.
Okay.
It will eliminate the front yard variance request if they are not proceeding with a front porch.
Okay, so we're allowed to do,
Yes, from a zoning perspective, a building is a building with a roof, whether it has walls or not. So as long as the dimensions are the same and they're not requesting anything beyond what they proposed.
thank you.
They will be the same.
Yeah,
Okay, so
So-
you're looking to just do the rear part?
correct, because that would take 2% off of the roof coverage, which would bring it back into, if it was an R18, then it would be, I'd be asking for 1%.
Okay. Do we have that calculation of what we're changing it to, as far as, because we're doing away with the front, right?
It comes out to 16% if I take the front porch off.
16%?
So you could modify your coverage request for 16%. There's, with an RU40 zone, it's 10%
Yeah,
anyway, so they're still going to be over and still going to require it, but less of one.
right, but when we go to read the motion,
No front yard variance and a lesser,
the 16%.
16% for building coverage, that is correct.
So everybody got that? Whoever makes the motion?
16?
16%.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, we'll get back to
All right,
this. Go ahead.
thanks.
No, I just wanted, so you're just going to do the rear?
Yeah, just because of how situations have changed.
Yep. Okay, has anybody got any questions for the applicant? Karen?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Am I on? Yes, I am on. The staff notes here say that you could reduce the amount of coverage if there were some current outbuildings that were then dispensed with. Is there something on the property that could go in the rear? Is there a shed or?
There's just a shed that, my father built about 30 years ago, but the garage is kind of set in stone.
Yeah.
But if need be, I guess I could.
Probably wouldn't get us, that wouldn't get us the 6%, though.
It's not going to give you the 6%. It's just something for you all to consider. And again, they are eliminating a variance request, so we're moving it and lessening the coverage.
That was all I had. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Anybody else got any questions for the applicant? No? Is anybody here to speak in favor of this application? Sir?
How you doing? Chris Trisacco, 35 Tennessee Ave, is the immediate neighbor. I have no objections of any project that he's creating over there. It wouldn't affect me at all. So, I mean, regardless if he removes his outbuilding for the shed or not, it really wouldn't affect my vision or anything like that over there. So,
Okay, thank you.
I'm in favor.
Is there anybody else here to speak in favor of this application? Anybody here to speak against this application? Hearing, seeing none, do you have anything further you'd like to add?
I think that's it, thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing, open it up for discussion and possible action by the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this variance request for building coverage of 16% to construct a covered front porch and covered rear patio at
No, no front porch. He's not doing the front porch,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
just the rear.
All right. And the rear patio at Tennessee Avenue is shown on proposed plot plan. Land of Jakes and Tamara Desgardens, 31 Tennessee Avenue, dated September 21st, 2017, and submitted plan received October 12th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve the building coverage, Mr. Conroy.
Yes to approve.
Mr. Wolfer.
Yes to approve.
Ms. Harris.
Yes to approve.
Mr. Rice.
Yes to approve.
And Chairman Russick.
Yes, your variance has been approved. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next up is 22-047 for Archer Signs for 893 North Colony Road. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. I have staff notes that read, applicant seeks total signage of 45.14 square feet, where 27.7 feet exists, and maximum 30.5 square feet is permitted, to replace wall signage at 893 North Colony Road in an RF40 district. Applicant represents one business/unit in a 5-unit building on the same parcel. Building was constructed in 2016, and the business/unit had valid sign permits in 2016 and 2017, as did the other 4 units on the parcel. The multi-tenant plaza currently is in compliance with all zoning regulations, both per unit and as one site. The sign regulations permit additional signage of limited size when unit or building is a corner unit and/or has alternate entrance or faces an adjacent parking area other than the main entrance side. This office has concerns that permitting excess signage to this applicant could also open the door to more businesses in the plaza requesting the same, and the site becoming exponentially covered in signage. The site has no visual obstructions to existing signage and businesses, and therefore questionable hardship preventing compliance. We also have 2 sign permits. One that was issued on October 17th, 2016, and the second one that was issued January 13, 2017. And that's it.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Brian Vassar with Archer Signs at 316 Boston Post Road in Milford, Connecticut.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Please explain your application.
Would you mind if I have some photos of some existing, would you mind if I?
Yep. Do you have one? Do you have one for staff?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so what you're looking at there is some photos of some adjacent businesses. And I think one thing or common theme that you'll notice is that a lot of businesses, if not all of them, have a freestanding sign available to them. And this particular plaza has a retention area in front of it, which doesn't allow them the same opportunity. So I think that as a hardship, I think that's a valid one. You know, they have a decent setback from the road. And, you know, approving a variance like this doesn't set a precedent. It's on a case-by-case basis. And in this particular case, they're not asking for a lot. They're asking for a relatively small logo in the front of the building. I mean, it seems large, but it's a pretty big facade. And a sign on the side of the building, only because they have a side. But, you know, other businesses that are across the street and next door to them certainly have much more signage than they're asking for. That's that. The logo that's up there now is like a postage stamp. It's tiny.
So you're looking to increase by about 15 square feet.
Yeah, I haven't done I don't have the math yet, but yeah, I'm sure you're probably right.
And you're going to put a bigger sign on the south-facing wall and then a bigger sign on the front.
Right. Right, but it, you know, with respect to the size of the facade, it doesn't seem like a lot of coverage there.
So what is the hardship, or what is bringing this forward?
Because they can't have a pylon sign, they just don't have a lot of exposure there. I mean, I almost missed it driving by myself. The sign code in this case, given the fact that they can't have a pylon, restricts them comparatively to the adjacent businesses.
I mean, so I've been up and down that road in the last week quite a few times, and one thing I did notice, and this is on your advantage from where I'm sitting, is that whoever designed the signs in the first place, the one facing on the south wall, it blends in with the building. Doesn't stick out.
I think that's the reason for the background they're looking for there.
So I understand that, but at the same time, this building's, I mean, the permit was issued on, 2016, 2017, so we're 5 years ago. And I'm just wondering why now.
I don't know. I represent the Hilton Group, which represents Starbucks, so I'm a third party. I don't know why they waited for as long as they did. Perhaps they're seeing not a lot of business activity, and they're looking for anything, grasping at anything to help them.
I mean, like I said, I've been by, and I understand part of it, because I had a phone call with staff about that, but these are the zoning regs that they came in on, and, they have changed since what you're pointing out, some of these older businesses. So like I said, part of me, I understand, but part of me, I'm not seeing the hardship because
Well, I suppose if they could have a pylon sign, that would help everyone in the plaza. But they just don't have the area to have it. And it puts them at a disadvantage. And I think everyone in the room would want every business that comes to this town to succeed, and I think that's all they're looking for.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just kind of like 5 years later, and
Well, why they waited this long, perhaps they just they felt they didn't have a chance, When they spoke with me, originally being a vice chairman of the ZBA in Shelton where I live, I looked at it and I thought to myself, what would I think about it? I typically won't, I'll tell them, if I thought it was, outrageous. But after I went and looked at the site, I felt that they had a point, 5 years later or not. Why they waited so long, I can only speculate. I haven't talked to Starbucks directly, but why does any business do anything that's going to cost them money?
yeah. Well, no, I'm just, like I said, I see part of it. I do understand part of it. Heading north, that sign, but it's part design, right? It's what they picked for colors. It doesn't stand out. It blends in with the building. So when you're heading north, if you're looking for Starbucks, and again, I understand there's not a big sign out in front. But at the same time, that sign, if it was designed different, would stick right out, and you'd know that's where Starbucks was, right? And like I said, I understand part of it. The reason why they had to go probably with the smaller sign in the front of the building is because they only had so many square feet, and they had 2 walls to put signs on, where the rest of the shop and plaza has just the front.
Right.
So, does anybody got any questions? Ray?
I don't know if it's a question or more than an observation. I spent a couple of days just trying to figure out what the hardship was, because when I was there at 2 different times during the week, it doesn't appear that the business is affected. It seems like a pretty steady flow there, and I don't know what the hardship is needing a larger sign.
Well, you know, as you, I'm sure you know, hardship really can't be for self-benefit or financial means. It has nothing to do with that, and I understand that. I just, the question was raised as to why now, and I can only imagine that it has something to do with their numbers. But when I look at this particular project in the way of a hardship, the fact that the entire front of the property is something that doesn't allow them to have a multi-tenant pylon, that really would benefit everyone in the plaza. Quite frankly, I think everyone in that plaza should benefit from maybe a slightly larger wall sign than, say, the guy across the street that can't have a pylon. I think that's how I would look at it.
But zoning regs change, and that's how it goes.
understand.
Unfortunately,
No, I understand. That's why we're here.
I have my, like I said, I understand part of it, but I also understand that, the regs are the regs. Anybody else got any questions for the applicant? Bob?
Ms. Torrey, if they took down the side sign, they can make the front sign much larger.
They are limited, to respond to you, and also for a point of clarification that I would like to make to the board, it answers the same thing. The sign regulations as they stand now, you're allowed 1 square foot per linear foot of frontage for your unit, and if there were a pylon sign, that would be deducted from your available signage, so you'd actually be in a worse situation. So if we had a panel of 10 square feet on that pylon sign, that comes off your total. So just to be aware of that. So lack of a pylon sign just means you would have to distribute among the pylon sign and your wall sign for the same total. So that being said, reducing sign size could certainly work. To this particular business franchise, there is a new one further down on Route 5 across the town lines that is on a corner unit being served by the same signage that exists right now on North Colony. So
that's fair enough. However, I think they would much rather deduct some of that wall signage for something close to the street. Much more beneficial.
But everybody would get some. So again, you have, bear with me. $29.5 square feet to work with. So if you had a panel of 8 square feet, you have 20 square feet left for your building. And then that's everybody, and it is a concern in a multi-tenant building. We can't say one business supersedes another. We have to sort of be consistent and fairly apply. So to that end, it's certainly the board's determination, but I wanted to make that point of clarification and hope that answers your question, Mr. Gross, which is, so all signage is included. And certainly this particular plaza is probably the newest, most current on Route 5 in Wallingford. Some predate zoning by quite a bit. And there are certain circumstances, maybe individual, whether they have variances or such. But again, a standalone business is going to have more to work with, taking the whole ground sign and their wall signage, all to themselves. This is multi-tenant, so.
Do you happen to know what size the side wall sign is now? Offhand, I don't have the existing permit.
The 2016 in front of me. And I know there was one more current, so I have to rifle through here. Currently, there are 4 wall signs totaling 27.57 square feet. 2 of them at 4 square feet each, 1 at 6.3 square feet, and 1 at 13.9 square feet.
So we're considering the drive-through signs.
If you were allowed 2 square feet at an alternate entrance without being charged for it. So an alternate sign or a directional sign, so a drive-through, a park here, those if they're less than 2 square feet, they do not count.
I'm just
We're talking only advertising signs.
Right. No, I'm just trying to compare. They're asking for 25.52 on the side for the 14-inch channel letters, and I'm just wondering, compared to the channel letters that are there, how that compares to that. I'm just looking to see if they were asking to increase that or not, or if it was just sort of a lateral move with a background panel.
Right now, you were asking for 45.14 square feet of wall signage. That was what your application was requesting.
Yes.
And the existing is 27.7, so you're nearly doubling it with the proposal as submitted for that one unit. And with two, and again, forgive me, I have 2017, excuse me, knew if I didn't rifle. The most current sign permit from 2017 that supersedes the 2016. 3 wall signs totaling 27.7 square feet. And the proposal, again, and the application was requesting 45.14 square feet. 1 wall sign of 19.62 square feet, 1 of 25.52. So again, almost doubling when it was working, and that being the office's question for the board to determine, so.
So then I guess the only thing I can add is that obviously it's the board's decision to decide whether, looking at the photos that they have in the adjacent businesses, if they, because they can't have a sign close to the road, if they have an unfair, disadvantage. That's where we are.
Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
Given the fact that logo is really small up there.
Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this application? Anybody here to speak against this application? Hearing, seeing none. Do you have anything further you'd like to add, sir?
No, sir.
You're good. I'm going to close the public hearing and open up for discussion and possible action by the board.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve a variance request for 45.14 square feet of total signage where maximum 30.5 square feet is permitted to install 2 new wall signs for Starbucks, Unit 1, at 893 North Colony Road as shown on submitted plans, Starbucks, 27435, 893 North Colony Road, 22593-73, dated 2/1/22, revision dated 9/22, received October 13th, 22. So move.
Second.
Motion to approve, Mr. Conroy.
No to approve.
Mr. Wolfer.
Excuse me, no to approve.
Ms. Harris.
No to approve.
Mr. Rice.
No to approve.
And Chairman Russick.
No. The application
So
variance.
you're
has
saying
been
there's a
denied.
chance. No, I'm kidding.
On another note, have a happy
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
you too. Thank you very much.
Next application, 22-048 for Trinity Health of New England Urgent Care, 790 North Colony Road. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have staff notes that read as follows. Applicant proposes ground sign of 88.96 square feet, where maximum 64 square feet is permitted, to add a panel to existing ground sign at 790 North Colony Road in an RF 40 district. Parcel contains 2 buildings/businesses on a single site. Sign regulations permit 1 ground sign per parcel of maximum 64 square feet size. Building number 1, Tractor Supply, was approved in April 2018. At that time, building business number 2 was anticipated for future development on the site. Initial proposal for Tractor Supply included a shared ground sign of 64 square feet with a sign panel designated for each business. When the sign permit was sought for business number 1, there was no business number 2, and all 64 square feet of the ground sign was allocated to business number 1. Applicant is seeking greater than 64 square feet of ground sign to allow a panel for the new building approved April 2022. Signage allowances for the parcel could be compliant by adhering to representation made in original 2018 site plan and reduce Tractor Supply's ground sign panel to the half available ground sign maximum, thus accommodating the business on the shared site. The parcel is unique in that it is a corner lot with obscured views, yet additional ground signs or larger ground sign than exists would not be permitted without variance approval. We also have some correspondence dated September 2nd, 2022 from the Economic Development Commission. And we have the original sign permit dated August 30, 2018. And that is it.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
For the record, my name is Jim Cassidy. I'm a professional engineer and principal with the firm of Halsey, Pearson & Cassidy. My office is located at 630 Main Street in Cromwell, Connecticut. With me this evening is Mark Diodabo. He is the member of I Am the Walrus LLC, who is the property owner of a land located at 790 800 North Colony Road. As it was mentioned in this application, we're seeking a variance to allow for an additional sign panel on the existing freestanding sign that's been placed on the property at 800 North Colony Road. As the commission is well aware, we were before you earlier this year, at which time we received a variance for parking to allow for the development of a new medical office building on this property. At this point, the medical office building has been constructed, and we're about ready to have the tenant move into it, which is Trinity Urgent Healthcare. It came to our attention as they went to file for a sign permit that when the original sign permit was filed by the tenant number one, Tractor Supply, they took up all the allocated square foot area for that sign on this particular piece of property, not leaving additional sign space for the future tenant. Unfortunately, when you file a permit for a sign in town, it doesn't require owner's signature, so unbeknownst to us, this happened. There was no additional square footage to allow for the sign. I think this particular property does have specific hardships. If you've gone by, you'll notice that there is a very steep ravine with Pinder Brook that runs in the center of it. So the entire frontage of the property is cut off by a brook. There's no direct frontage on North Colony Road. This is required that the pylon sign that was installed is installed significantly off the edge of the roadway. It's actually about 60 feet back from the edge of the roadway down the side street, Beaumont Road. In addition to access to the site, could not go out directly to North Colony Road. The driveway is 250 feet down Beaumont also. So it is very unique for a commercial property on North Colony Road compared to other properties that are on North Colony Road. On the other properties, you would find that their freestanding or pylon sign could be right up near the roadway. In this particular case, it's significantly set back. In addition to, it becomes a safety issue. The use that's coming into the property is a medical office, an urgent care use, and if you're driving at a decent speed down North Colony Road, it becomes difficult to even see this sign because it is so far back. So we are requesting a variance to be able to install this additional sign panel. We'd be leaving the existing sign the way it is, installing a new 25 square foot panel just underneath it, so the height doesn't increase. It's right underneath it, and it's only about 25 square feet that we're looking to increase the overall sign area. Again, I'll emphasize, I think this particular property is much more different than other properties along North Colony Road. As I go up and down North Colony Road, it is one piece of property that's totally cut off from North Colony Road for access and having a sign directly out front. Again, it is significantly back, and if you travel in both directions, it is difficult to see. And I think this property can support a larger sign. So with that, I conclude my presentation and gladly answer any questions the commission may have.
So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I know where the piece of property is, and Wasn't that long ago you guys were in front of us for the parking. But my problem is the hardship is self-inflicted, as Tractor Supply took all your signage. And it, in my opinion, could be easily rectified by sharing the sign with Tractor Supply instead of adding another 25 square feet of signage. So I'm having a hard time with the hardship on this, only because it seems like it's a self-inflicted problem that Tractor Supply took all your space. When they knew, I mean, eventually there was always that property when they went out in front of zoning and everything else, there always was a plan for another building on that property.
Sure, and I understand, and I mean, but again, in retrospect and looking at it, I do think this is a little bit different than other sites on North Colony Road. It is in a weird location. It is obstructed. It is a strange location for a driveway. And again, you know, we're trying to make a business work here. We're trying to make it successful for that business. And you know, if we had a sign up front, I can agree. Having a smaller sign would work, but this one's about 60 feet back from the edge of the road. When I drive by Rick's, you know, Rick's sign actually obstructs the sign until you're right on top of it. When I'm driving down in the other direction past Walmart, there is still existing trees that were required to be left along the water course, which obstruct it. So we're just trying to make it as safe as possible. Again, it's urgent care medical use, so we like it, you know, to be as big as it possibly can, so people know it's there.
Yeah, I understand it, but I also,
I would like to add something, Mr. Chairman, when you're ready.
my view is that, you know, that it's just kind of a self-inflicted hardship, you know what I mean? That Tractor Supply took all your square footage of signage, and I don't know, I'm just having a hard time with it. Go ahead.
We were approved by Planning and Zoning for the plan that Jim gave you. The issue, where it became confusing, and the problem arose because the signage application does not require my signature. That's where the problem was. Had it required my signature, I would have looked at the sign and said, well, wait a minute, that's not what was approved. Planning and Zoning approved this sign, okay? Believe me, no one was more surprised when I came down to the site and saw the pylon sign. I don't know what it cost because Tractor put it up, but it kind of left us in a bind. So now I've got a sign and no space for a tenant. And I granted, you say it's self-inflicted. I don't agree with that. Had we known that this pylon sign is what Tractor Supply was applying for, I would have squashed it then and said, wait a minute, that's not what we agreed to. To go back to a national tenant now and start negotiating to remove their sign or reduce their sign really is a problem. I mean, that's a hardship right there in and of itself, not for you, but obviously for me. But that's how we have this hardship. Really came about because the application wasn't sent to me, and nor does it need to be. If you look at the application, there's nowhere on that application for the owner of the property to sign. So that's really how this whole thing got messed up, and that's why we're in front of you now. Yeah, I agree with Jim. You know, it is set back and everything, but
Oh, yeah, no,
we never would have
it's
been
a
here.
different piece of property on Route 5. I don't disagree with it, you know?
Never would have been here, though, if the application was sent to me, if the application had the owner's signature on it, like so many do. You know, you look at other applications in town, the owner has to sign it, right? I mean, somebody could just come up to one of your properties and file an application for a sign. You wouldn't even know about it. That's really how we got to this spot today, and that's why we're asking for help, so that we can give this urgent care some signage. And it's not a lot, it's 25 square feet?
Yes, 25 square feet.
Okay, you have a rendering of it there? I mean, it's not obtrusive. I think it's very fair to give us this variance. That's what I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Oh, no, thanks. Does anybody got any questions for the applicant? Karen?
I do, Mr. Chairman. And it's for the first gentleman who made the presentation. And I understand what you say about the hardship, about the location of this property. Disregarding what the owner just said, would it be fair to say that if both of these buildings went up at the same time and you were applying for signage, you might have applied for a variance at that point to have a bigger sign that would accommodate both tenants
Yeah, it would be fair.
because of the location of the property.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fair to say that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We did not have a tenant at the time. We were looking for one, and we just found this urgent care.
I realize that.
It was always intended to have another building on it, and you
I understand that as well.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just have one question.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Is the sign thing going to be in your lease now?
Sorry?
I said, I guess that sign thing will be in your leases from now on, huh?
Mr. Chairman, if I may as well,
Yes,
I just want to make a point of order, clarification. In this particular case, unlike our previous application, we're only speaking of the ground signs are limited to 64 square feet. If they added this extra square footage, this is an if, the site would not be over on their total sign allowances. So they're not asking for excess signage that is permitted. It's strictly the size of the ground sign, just to be clear on that.
So they're going to be,
They'll be compliant with their total signage allowed by adding that panel. It's only the size of the ground sign. One ground sign is permitted per site, 64 square foot maximum. And not typical, but they were very thorough in their site plan application for when Tractor Supply came through. The sign renderings are not required as part of that, but in this particular case, there was a representation made with expectation somebody'd be coming along. That's it. I just wanted to be clear about this, the fact that they're not asking for excess signage, just an oversized ground sign.
thank you. Does anybody else got any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this application? Anybody here to speak against this application? Hearing, seeing none, do you guys have anything further you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, open up for discussion and possible action by the board. We also need to make a motion for the,
Follow, yeah.
the
Waive
waive
the application.
the application fee.
You can
So-
do that following, so if you want to make,
That's separate, right?
it's
Well,
separate, but whatever order you would prefer, yes, we need to make a separate motion to allow the applicant to waive the reapplication fees for the applicant from the confusion from earlier, so.
So moved.
Why don't you make a motion, we'll start there.
Well, I'm just repeating what she said. To waive the,
Reapplication fees.
Waive the application fee.
to waive the application fee on this.
Second.
Right, this is a motion to waive the reapplication fee. Mr. Conroy,
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Wolfer,
Yes, approve.
Ms. Harris, Mr. Rice,
Yes,
Yes
to
to
approve.
approve.
and Chairman Russett.
Yes.
Now you can move to action on the actual application.
Make a motion to approve the variance request for a ground sign, 88.96 square feet where 64 square feet maximum is permitted, to add a panel to existing ground sign for new business building at 790 North Colony Road, as shown on submitted plan. Tractor Supply Company, proposed pylon sign dated July 23rd, 22, received October 13th, 22. So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve, Mr. Conroy,
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Wolfer,
Yes to approve.
Ms. Harris,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Rice,
Yes, to approve.
and Chairman Russett.
Yes, your application's been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Next application, 22-049 for Ferdy Management Corp., 155 East Street. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. We have staff notes which read as follows. Applicant requests parking variance approval for 127 spaces where 147 is required and 176 exist in order to allow for the temporary outdoor storage of finished material prior to shipping. applicant is proposing storage along 49 existing parking spaces as alternate locations on the site are located in FEMA flood zone as well as wetlands, upland review area. Comment from the fire marshal identify 5 of the parking/storage spaces identified are not compliant with applicable fire code and accessibility, and therefore cannot be included in the proposal. Should the applicant seek more than a 20-space reduction in parking requirement or alternately locate proposed storage area, this application should be continued or resubmitted pending submission of modified application and plans. The board cannot approve the application as submitted with the 5 spaces identified by the fire marshal as not being permitted. The board may consider approval of the submitted proposal with the condition that the 5 identified spaces are not included in any approval. In this event, the board would be approving a lesser variance, 132 spaces where 147 are required, which would not require modification to published legal notice. We also have some correspondence. We have some correspondence from the Wallingford Fire Department. It's an inspection report. It was received on November 9th, 2022. We also have some correspondence from Linden Landscape Architects dated October 14th, 2022. And then it looks like some internal correspondence from Linden Landscape Architects dated September 21st, 2022. And that's it.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tom Linden from Linden Landscape Architects in Weathersfield, representing the owner, Ferdy Management Corporation, for their plant at 155 East Street. With me is Frank DeRosa from Ferdy. He's their special projects manager. As was stated, we're seeking a variance to the amount of required parking to allow for temporary outdoor storage of finished bagged material on pallets wrapped, again, in plastic outdoors on the east side of the site. There are currently 176 parking spaces at the facility. The requirement from P&Z is for 147 spaces. This request asks for us to use 49 of those spaces as temporary outdoor storage between the months of December and May. The 49 proposed spaces from the 176 spaces that are there, we have an excess amount of spaces. So by asking for this temporary outdoor storage, we would be 20 spaces below the 147 required. We received the report from the fire marshal about the 5 spaces that he does not want to allow storage of materials. 2 of them are in front of where the sprinkler connection is on the side of the building. The other 2 are at sidewalks from egress doors. We're going to agree with that and reduce the amount that we want from 49 down to 44 spaces, which will leave us with going from the 120 spaces, 127 that we'd be left with, as noted on the plan, goes up to 132. So now we're only 15 spaces below what's required. As was stated in the staff comments, and you have it in your package, but I kind of highlighted the plan a little bit better to be able to see what we're up against here. This is their building, Allegheny Ludlam's on
the easel if you want up there.
That way,
And then there's a microphone over there on the desk. You can.
yeah,
Then they can get the camera and
public can see it.
public can see it. So.
I don't know if the camera can pick that up.
Okay, so as I was saying, this is the Ferdy property. The pink line is the property line. This is the existing building. Allegheny Ludlam is on this side, north is up. The Quinnipiac River and Route 15 are on this side. So the proposal is this east side parking lot to use these 49 spaces. There's a couple of spaces here and here, spaces in front of the sidewalks here, and the spaces in front of the sprinkler connection are on this side. So we're going to take those 5 spaces out and only request 44 spaces. What we're up against here is this big blue line. This is the FEMA flood zone line and the 50 feet upland reviews that wetlands has as their regulated area. So we really can't use any of this part of the property. This side of the building, there's this whole huge row of parking and pavement that is part of their circulation pattern for their trucks. To do this over here, we'd have to go to wetlands to get permission, and there's other regulatory issues with it being the FEMA flood zone on this side. This is where they stored the stuff last year and got in trouble for it, which is why we're here now asking for approval to store on this side. This is the only portion of the site that's out of FEMA regulated areas. So that's the request in a nutshell. What they do operationally is when they're making their product year-round. In the winter, they're not shipping their product because nobody needs to have fertilizer in the middle of winter, so they have to store it so that when the spring season hits and everybody wants their fertilizer at once, they can ship. So what they do now is what they do now and what they will plan to do is they store as much as they can inside the building as they're making it. Once they reach capacity here, they need another place to store. So they start storing it outside. We're going to go to Planning and Zoning next month to ask for approval to store on the Allegheny Ludlam site. That's under Planning and Zoning's purview. So what they would do is when they reach capacity inside the building and need another place to store, they have an agreement to use part of this property. They're going to store some of it inside the existing building, inside this existing building that's out there. Once they reach capacity there, they'll start storing it on the pavement outside of Allegheny Ludlam. Once they reach capacity there, this would be their last relief point. So even though it's outdoor storage temporary from December to May, this would be the last place. They wouldn't start storing it here in December. They're going to fill up their building, they're going to start over here, and it'll be a much shorter period of time. Once the product starts shipping in April?
Actually, it would start shipping as early as mid-February because we ship as far south as the Mid-Atlantic region, which has an earlier season than it does up here.
So they start shipping material out. Obviously, what they're going to do is they're going to start shipping the material that's sitting outside first. So if this is the last resort and material starts being stored here, this is going to be the first stuff to leave the site. So the request is a variance against what the parking requirements are for this facility, which is based on square footage of the building. There's 176 spaces in here. They have 31 employees. They have 8 people in the office and 23 people working in the plant. So it's still, the regulation is still the regulation, but I just wanted to let you know there's 31 people working in this building. They'll park on the west side of the site if they use this for storage. So in a nutshell, that's basically what the application is.
Well, you took my question. I understand all this.
Good.
And the question was, I've been on that property, and it is a big piece of property and a big building. And my question was, how many employees do you have? I know you don't have 170 or 140 or 130, but okay. Has anybody got any questions for the applicant? Karen?
No, Mr. Chairman, that was my question too.
I have one
Bob?
question. So that's where the employees park now?
Yes.
So you're going to you'll put up a barrier there that nobody's allowed to park there, and then you're going to change the flow of traffic coming in from the south side around, or how are you going to do that?
Go ahead.
I can respond to that. So that whole area would not be filled. It would just be the parking spaces where we would place material. So the roadway would remain open. So the roadway would still remain a circular roadway around the property, which would give access, one, for our trucks and two, for emergency vehicles if they had to come onto the property. Our employees would be parking on the backside of the property where there currently are parking spaces in a paved lot.
They would make it so the flow of traffic would still be the same accessibility that you have now, because you have it do not enter on the south side.
Correct.
You go from east around the building that way right
Correct.
now.
So the roadway in its current width, going through that parking area in the front would remain the same. So we're just literally using the space allotted within the parking space.
Because it sounded like you're going to fill up that whole lot.
Correct.
But you're not. You're just going to fill up.
Just what's there in whatever that reddish color is. So the driveway still goes through.
Okay.
Because they need that for operations. The trucks come in this direction to unload and leave.
Thank you.
They come in and pick up that way.
Anybody else got any questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this application? Anybody here to speak against this application? Hearing, seeing none. Do you have anything further you'd like to add?
No.
I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for discussion and possible action by the board. I think we need to change this, right? Because the motion.
Your motion should reflect the changes from the fire marshal. It's the same plan minus those certain identified spaces by the fire marshal.
Right,
Which
132 is...
And 132 is the amended number.
Right, okay, just making sure. Okay,
Yes.
so this is correct.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Make a motion to approve variance request for 132 parking spaces where 147 parking spaces are required to construct temporary outdoor storage at 155 East Street as shown on overall site plan, Ferdy Management Company, 155 East Street, Wallingford, dated October 14th, 2022. The existing conditions survey prepared for Ferdy Management Corporation dated October 25th, 2021, and submitted plans received October 14th, 2022, subject to reduction of requested variance of 127 spaces in order to remove parking spaces 112, 126, 127, 130, and 131, form proposed outside storage area and retain as available parking per fire marshal's comments received November 9th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve, Mr. Conroy.
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Wolfer.
Yes to approve.
Ms. Harris.
Yes to approve.
Mr. Rice.
Yes to approve?
And Chairman Russick.
Yes, your variance request has been approved.
Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you all. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Unless Tom has a correction.
I'll always be known as that, I guess.
Somebody's got to keep us in line, Tom.
You got it. Motion to accept minutes as submitted. For,
What's that?
yep. Let's see, where are we here?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
The other piece of housekeeping, we have to approve our schedule for meetings for 2023. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
2023 schedule of minutes for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
That's a motion to approve that schedule.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's it. And this is our last meeting for the year. I want to wish everybody a Happy Thanksgiving, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holiday to everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairman.
And also, just to let you all know, since do not have a December meeting, thus far, I have not received any applications for what will be our January meeting, but folks do still have through
The 15th, right?
the December deadline, correct. So what I will do is I will deliver them to you, whatever I have received by.
See, now, if you didn't say anything, nobody would have known.
You should leave treats on the front step for me, because it'll be Christmas.
Leave a jar of honey.
So, but,
does this constitute our holiday party?
Yeah, this is it. This is our
Okay,
holiday
wow.
party.
Never had so much fun.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Get out.